Okay. Hey everyone. So this is Mr. B. This is my brief guide on how to make a personal statement. So, question one: what is a personal statement? And I guess why do you need to write one? So you need to write one for college. Some people say, oh, it's a way to get them to understand who you are outside of like grades and that kind of stuff. Yeah, kind of, sorta. The purpose of a personal statement is to say this: hey, I'm awesome, I'm smart, you need me. That's the real purpose. Because they assume that everyone is an individual and does their own things. That is assumed. Okay, do personal statements matter? Yes and no. So, for the most part, whatever colleges you get into are going to accept you based on your non personal statement credentials, your grades, your financial age, your immutable characteristics. Do you check off boxes on who they're willing to accept or who they need to accept, etc., etc. Personal statements, though, they could be, if you're on the fence, if you're on the border, they could be the make or break thing. So you do need to do them and you need to do them well, but you might even get into a college without someone even looking at one. So there was a few years ago a student got into Princeton, and his whole personal statement, it was just Black Lives Matter, that phrase just repeated the whole way down. And he got accepted to Princeton, and he made a post about this, like, wow, Princeton is so progressive. Now, what probably happened is Princeton didn't even look at his personal statement. His credentials probably were enough to get him in, so no one even bothered looking. But what he assumed is they looked and, wow, this is a super woke school. He didn't wind up going to Princeton. So that's a way to show you that he was already getting into Princeton. They didn't look at his personal statement, which is just three words copy and pasted over and over and over again. And by the way, the student wasn't even black. So it kind of matters, it kind of doesn't matter. If you're on the fence, it matters. If you're guaranteed, it kind of doesn't matter, but it still needs to be good, just in case someone checks. So here's my almost flawless three-step procedure for a great personal statement. And this works for pretty much any prompt, whether it's an Ivy League, whether it's the Common App prompts. This works well for all of them. Okay. One, start with and establish the situation, the drama, the struggle, the obstacle, the dilemma, the catalyst, the inciting incident or moment, the call to adventure, crossing of a threshold. You need something to actually write about, a thing, and you'll use that thing to set up your growth. It will give details about your life and show some uniqueness. So you need something to talk about. This doesn't need to be something dramatic. I once one of the students I had that that got into Ivy Leagues. Hers was about her name and thinking about the complexity of her name. You know, being Nigerian with one Muslim and one Christian one Muslim and one Christian parent. How the naming traditions influenced their perception of her. Wasn't about something like dramatic or dire. My personal statement was about how a book changed my perception of the world. So you need something though about you and your experience to write about, like a triggering moment. And then once you establish that and you kind of tell me that story, you make it real, you make me feel it. Show me, don't tell me how you grew, you changed, you adapted, you evolved, you adjusted, you became better, you struggled. So you have that starting scenario. How did that scenario change you? How did it make you better? And what did you learn about yourself or the world from the struggle or from that thing that was in the beginning? You know, due to the established thing in the first part. So how did you grow? How did you change? How did you adapt? How did you see the world differently? And then, and here's the most important part, explain how. So after you've done your internal struggling and changing and adapting, how currently you're a better person. You're more whole. The world's a better place. You are awesome. The future has been affected. Your future has been affected. The college would want someone like you. Um, so, all right, I'm awesome. You need me. I'm going to be awesome in the future. I'm going to be like a better, more complete whole person through this thing. So, this thing has changed me or changed the way I look at the world. Um, so, this, I guess, should have been in the front, but I made a mistake. So, what's the point of a personal statement? I'll go over this again um, because some of the ideas are a little clearer here. To tell them a little bit about you, that's the wrong answer. Correct answer, to show that you're unique, you have faced struggles and have overcome, or you are a thinker or abnormally intelligent, you are awesome and they need you. Okay. The prompt doesn't matter. A good personal statement molds to any prompt. Now this 3-part outline that I showed you, that's to me a really good checklist. That's 3 paragraphs. The word limit is about 650 words. That's 1-page single space or 2-page double spaced font Times New Roman 12. In early drafts, feel free to go over that. It's always easy to cut down. Okay, so here's a checklist that I've made over the years. You don't need all of these things, but having a good amount of them is really good. Okay, you or your story is unique or impressive. I shouldn't be able to take your name and switch it with anyone else in the school and it be the same personal statement. I should be able to read this and say, this could only be yours. So please don't do blah, 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 my immigrant parents. That's like half the school. Blah, 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 growing up in Newark. That's most of the school. That's the whole school, Yeah, make sure that no one else could have written this but you. What you write here helps someone actually understand you. Like, oh, I know this person a little bit. It sets you apart from everyone else. It shows your intellect or your abilities, like what you've done or could do in the world. You show growth. You face things and you've grown. You're someone that's always growing, that's always changing, that's always developing. You've shown struggle and then triumph. Now, the struggle could be physical. It could be internal, could be mental, but the struggle doesn't need to be like something serious. It could be like, I struggled with an idea for a long time and then I came to my opinions about it. You show skills or abilities that have grown or developed, the growth. This should really tell like a story. This is not an objective, formal, like analysis essay. You're basically telling a story about yourself or a bunch of mini stories. That's the best way for them to get to know you. Tell some stories. You can hook the reader. You can start by being dramatic. I had one student, he wrote a personal statement about his recovery from being hit in the face with a baseball bat. Like he as a baseball practice, and he turned the corner and someone was practicing and he got hit in the face and had like facial reconstructive surgery and physical therapy. And he like did that dramatic thing at the end of the first paragraph. I said, no, that should be the opening sentence. So you got hit in the face with a baseball bat. Yeah. Avoid polarizing topics and ideas, religion, politics, race, because what might happen is the person that reads this doesn't have your same viewpoints, and they might just throw you in the garbage. So if you say like, oh, my religion has made my life worth living, blah blah blah, and they're like, well, I believe the other religion, they're gonna kind of think probably lesser of you. Or if you take a down with Trump and they like Trump, or they're sympathetic to Trump, or they're a centrist, focus really on 1 or 2 ideas so you're not all over the place. Show me, don't tell me. If you're gonna make me feel terrible, don't write something and then say, and it was terrible. No. Write it in such a way that when I read it, I say to myself, wow, that's terrible. You don't just describe the things that happen to you or your thoughts. You evaluate them. You judge them. You come to conclusions about them. Please don't complain about money, grades, mental health, or the system's unfairness. That's not the point of this. Don't portray yourself as a victim. Please give me money because of all the disadvantaged communities that I belong to. Don't give them information they already know. They know you went to Science Park. They know what your GPA is. They know where you went to middle school. They don't need that stuff. Don't preach or refuse to be wrong. This is not where you take your moral stance and like prove everyone wrong because it's not a conversation. Don't talk about the personal statement writing process. So don't like, as I'm sitting here thinking about my personal statement, because now there's a whole sentence that you just wasted for no reason that could have been done developing you. Okay, so this is a kind of a custom thing. For Ivy League schools or super high competitive schools like NYU, Stanford are not Ivy League schools, but they're just about Ivy League schools. Or really specialized schools or specialized programs like the nursing program or the I don't know, the business school or something, if they specifically ask you to talk about them. So for those really competitive places, you should include facts or details about the specific school or the specific major or the specific kind of thing about that program. And then, and this is super important, the second one, especially for Ivy Leagues, you need to show unique intellectual capabilities. I know this is vague. You need to show that you're not thinking about these issues the way an average 17 or 18-year-old would. You need to say, hey, my brain is unique. My ability to analyze is so much greater than everyone else's. I'm a nuanced thinker. You have to prove that in the quality of your analysis. And if you're applying to a specialized program, like so you're going to do the architecture school, you know what? Throw in some architecture stuff. Show them you know what you're talking about. Something I didn't put here, which I just remembered. Please don't mention your major unless you're specifically applying to a certain school. Don't mention a major because there's like a 33% chance your major is going to change. And then that's all a moot point. So don't talk about your major. Maybe talk about the field. So for example, you want to major in nursing, right? That's very specific. Well, what's nursing? Nursing is about helping people. What you could say is, I don't know exactly what I want to do, but I want to do something that helps people in like a real physical sense where I can see their improvement. Oh, you see how nursing falls into that? But that can also cover other things like teaching, social work, community organizing, whatever. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.